welcome to JIT-TVzw News, where we bring you daily news, information, current affairs, business and investment, as well as finance and what is happening in the world of stock market and global economics. Entertainment is our business, news on multiple platforms for all Zimbabweans and all Africans on one channel. The time is here, isikhathi sifikile. On your headlines, the SAWA Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa launches a 50-day countdown to 2022 population and housing census as the government prepares to craft intervention policies. South African Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy Gwede Mantashe talks with the Finance Minister over fuel prices amid its dramatic price increases in the country. And on your sports, Russia gets yet another slap in the face as FIFA and UEFA suspends the country's national and club teams from all competitions until further notice. Your news in detail: a 50-day countdown to the 2022 population and housing census scheduled to take place between 21 and 30 April this year have been launched this week by President Emmerson Mnangagwa in Harare. Speaking during an address at State House, the president says the census will emphasize housing characteristics and living conditions. He notes that this information enables the government to craft intervention policies and programs that reduce inequalities among disadvantaged population groups. Through the upcoming census, Zimstat will provide relevant, accurate, and reliable statistics on the size, composition, and skills of the country's labor force. Therefore, government stands ready to address any gaps that the census data will reveal and to work towards reducing unemployment. The president further says that economic blueprints such as Transitional Stabilization Plan and National Development Strategy 1 requires baseline information from various censuses and surveys, which the Zimbabwean National Statistics Agency conducts from time to time. Therefore, he says, assessing the degree of success of the implementation of such programs and projects required statistics as performance indicators. Thus, a census enables the government to make evidence-based decisions as it provides information on size, distribution, and age structure of the population. On that basis, government can plan for social services delivery and the precedents. Moving on to your other news, Libya's parliament approves a new government this week, but the incumbent prime minister rejects the vote and vows not to cede power, raising the risk of fighting amongst armed factions or territorial partition between rival administrations. The Parliament Speaker's declaration of Fatih Bagasha, or rather Bashaga, as Prime Minister after a televised vote aggravates a power struggle with the administration of Abdulahid al-Badia, who was installed through a United Nations-backed process last year. Opposing armed groups have mobilized in the capital Tripoli over recent weeks, and foreign forces, including from Turkey and Russia, that have backed rival-wearing factions remain in the country. Whether the crisis will kindle armed conflicts remains unclear, but it leaves Libya without a unified government, with the main political and military forces bitterly divided and with no clear path forward. Meanwhile, Bashaga says he made arrangements with security and military authorities to set up his government in Tripoli, but armed groups there say they oppose his installation as prime minister, which was backed by Eastern Commander Khalifa Haftar. However, the crisis points to a return to Libya's division between rival governments based in East and West, with Haftar holding most oil facilities. Another blockade of the country's 1.3 million barrels per day crude export is also in prospect. Coming up next is your JIT TV business news. And on your business news this hour, with only 30 days left before the curtain comes down at the 6-month-long Expo 2020 Dubai, Zimbabwe is scaling up the momentum in its investment and trade campaign, where it hopes to seal more lucrative deals that will propel its economy. A packed program of action has already been lined up for this month, leading to the National Day activities on March 14, which will be the pinnacle of the country's marketing drive and will be graced by President Mnangagwa and high-level representation from the host country, the United Arab Emirates. The country is already one of the top trade partners to the UAE, with local export earnings from the Western Asian economy alone clocking a record of $1.4 billion in 2020, thus according to official figures. However, participating at this expo is strategic for Zimbabwe as the country moves to widen its trade gains and garners for diversification of its product market spread to the entire Gulf region and the wider European network. Meanwhile, increasing export earnings is at the heart of the government's national development strategy, a key building block towards attainment of an upper middle income economy by 2030. Despite the earlier dampening impact of COVID-19 induced global travel restrictions at the expo, Ambassador Mary Mubi says relaxed lockdown regulations since the start of the year have sparked renewed the momentum in terms of visits and opportunity inquiries at the Zimbabwe Pavilion, and the country was building impetus on these interests. The time has come for Team Zimbabwe to fire from the cylinders, she says, as she clarifies, or rather as she rallied all stakeholders to pull their efforts together for the country to make distinctive impact as the expo, which will yield the desired investment outcomes. In other business news, South African Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, Gwede Mantashe, says he's in talks with Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana on the composition of the fuel price in the country. The latest fuel price hike came into effect Tuesday midnight, with 95-octane petrol now costing around 21 Rand 60 cents a litre. Both grades of petrol rose by 1 Rand 46 cents a litre following rising oil prices amid Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The price of diesel has risen by 1 Rand 44 cents a litre. Paraffin has gone up by 1 Rand 20 cents a litre. And Mantashe says international factors have an impact on these fuel prices. Speaking on the sidelines of the Africa Energy Indaba in Cape Town, Mantashe says the high price of energy is perpetuating energy poverty as there is no universal access to energy. The minister further reveals that these factors impact adversely on industrial production and on the ability of the poor to improve their well-being. Hence, government is looking at how the price of petrol can be calculated. Meanwhile, the Automobile Association of South Africa says fuel prices increase will have an immediate impact on the poor, while this also will have a long-term effect on inflation, as the impact is dramatic and salaries and wages have not been keeping pace with the increase. Well, this brings us to the end of our JIT-TV business news this hour. Up next is your sports and entertainment.
Local innovation with a global recognition. It's JIT-TV.
Welcome back. Now let's take a look what's happening on your sports and entertainment. And on your sports news, FIFA and UEFA suspends Russia's national and club teams from all competitions until further notice due to the country's invasion of Ukraine. According to a joint statement, the bodies say football is in full solidarity with all the people affected in Ukraine. It adds that both presidents hope that the situation in Ukraine will improve significantly and rapidly so that football can again be a vector for unity and peace. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian Premier League side Shakhtar Donetsk says the Brazilian players have left the country safely following the invasion by Russia. Shakhtar, who are based in the east of the country and have more than a dozen Brazilians in their squad, say the players and their families had arrived in Romania. The team adds that fellow club Dynamo Kyiv foreign players had also left the country. 3 Brazilians who play for SK Dnipro, one crossed the border into Romania on Saturday. Shakhtar also hails the football authorities, citing that evacuation of the players was made possible and thanks to the personal assistance of UEFA President Alexandra Seferin, the Ukrainian Football Association President Andriy Pavelko, and the Moldovan Football Federation President Leonid Oleneyko-Chenko. Meanwhile, in the entertainment news, Zimbabwean socialite, the late genius Jinimbi Gandugure's 2 sisters, Nelia and Juliet, have been jointly appointed as executors to his estate. The family convenes a meeting at the Master of High Court this week, following a recent High Court ruling which declared his unsigned will and appointment of its executor as null and void. Prior to the High Court's challenge, a questionable will had appointed Patricia Darangwa to be the executor, while Jinimbi's Lamborghini was given to his friend Kit Kat. But as it now stands, Jinimbi died intestate without a will. However, the family convenes at an addict meeting is in compliance with what was ordered by the court in order to restart the whole process and register the late genius Gandugure's estate. Hence, his father, 2 sisters, and uncle attended the meeting, and it was agreed that the siblings jointly perform duties of executor. Thus, according to the family lawyer, Shingi Ushewedgunze. Ushewedgunze says the family, through the 2 sisters, will begin the normal administration of the estate and share the wealth as they wish, since the court ruled in their favor, and it is now on record that Jinimbi died without a will. The socialite died on November 8, 2020 after his Rolls-Royce collided with a Honda Fit along Liberation Legacy Way with 3 other occupants, including Moena, and 2 foreigners, Alicia and Karim, who were burnt beyond recognition after the doors of the Rolls-Royce jammed. Days after the incident, Darangwa presented an unsigned and undated will purported to belong to Jinimbi and became an executor to the estate. However, the family approached the High Court seeking a review of the Master of High Court's decision to accept the will when Darangwa was keen to dispose of the Lamborghini to Kit Kat. According to the family, Jinimbi owned various properties, including a mansion in Domboshava, a company called Infinity Gas, which operates in Zimbabwe, South Africa, and Botswana, as well as an undisclosed number of vehicles. Well, this brings us to the end of your sports and entertainment news. Coming up next is your JIT-TV weather report. Well, this brings us to the end of our JIT TV news bulletin this hour. Stay tuned to JIT TV as we bring you the best in entertainment news, information, analysis, sports, business, and all the headlines of the day. And do stay in touch on Twitter, Facebook, and our website, www.jit-tv.tv, and leave a comment. My name is Nobutula Shabalala in Ntombi Yakwamshengu. See you same time tomorrow and stay connected. Cheers.